Hey everybody, good morning. Good morning. It's 8 o'clock in the morning here on January 30th, 2024. I'm going to do a real quick Bitcoin update, and I might talk just a little bit about alts in general at the end of the video. I want to keep this down to about 15 minutes today just to keep things nice, short, and sweet. Before I get into all this, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research, and this is, as always, just my opinion on the market. I'm going to move right on into the chart. I'm not going to waste any time today. What I want to do is I want to take a look at the entire move up, starting here from the lows back in November of 2022. So over an entire year has happened since we hit these lows after the FTX collapse. I'm not going to rehash that. We all know the story there. What I do want to discuss is what everybody is really looking at. If you're a bear, this is what you're looking at. What you're looking at is this first move here. So we've got from this high, we've got to this low, and then we're working on a retrace, which is going to terminate at some point, and then we're going to be moving lower. Okay, so this is the scenario where we go all the way down to like 13,000, 13,000, 14,000 by the end of the year this year, likely sometime maybe even in early 2025. Now, do I think that this is a valid case? Yes, I do think that this is completely valid, and this is something that can absolutely happen. What I do want to kind of speculate on here is the fact that this might not be what's going on, because if you recall, this is what a lot of people were expecting the S&P 500 to do. This is what a lot of people were expecting NASDAQ to do. They were expecting, if I go to the NASDAQ chart and just to kind of do a little bit of comparison here. So let me go ahead and pull up this NASDAQ chart. Let me go ahead and clear out everything that I've got. All right, so what a lot of people were saying was basically, what we did here is we had a big move down, we're going to be moving up, and then at some point we're going to move down, right? What ended up happening? Not that. You probably saw I cleared off a channel that I had here, and we basically were moving in a bullish triangle, not a bullish triangle, a bullish channel, like a falling channel, which typically breaks out to the upside, and that's really exactly what happened. Once we broke out of that trend line that we had for the upper rail of the channel, we've already seen a massive 16 move up on the S&P 500 only in probably the last 2 to 3 months. Okay, so now that we've gotten here with Bitcoin, so I'm looking at the BLX chart because I want things to be nice and slow and sweet. Do I think that this is likely what's going to happen? I really don't. What I think is probably more likely to happen is something very similar to what happened with NASDAQ. Probably we're going to see something, along this line where we've got, like a channel that we're going to be falling into. Let me go ahead and just kind of make this a little smaller. So it's very likely we're just going to be falling into a channel that would kind of move sideways, maybe down just a little bit, going into the weeks before the halving, which is in April, around April 22nd of 2024. I talked about this in the video that I did just a couple days ago. My opinion is dips are for buying, and more than likely when we do get down here into this range, you can see I've got it outlined between $35,000 and $38,000. If we get down here into this range, chances are pretty good we're going to start a steep move to the upside. Now, is it going to stop there at about 59,000? That is really what what we will have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see where this thing stops. What I would say is if it goes beyond 58,000, this ABC is invalid. If you're a bear, you want this ABC to really work, right? You want this to happen. But, historically speaking, and again, this time might be different. This time, it already has some factors that are different. The block reward for Bitcoin is like getting smaller and smaller and smaller after every halving, which is probably contributing to the factors on why Bitcoin isn't completely growing exponentially as the halvings go, because the reward for mining is reduced. So now that we're here, looking at the past, historically speaking, after the halving, we typically have, a pretty exponential rise to the upside. And I've got, another halving right here. So we had, the COVID drop. We came back to equilibrium, and I say equilibrium because, we had this, this price action right here, which we returned to. Once we returned here, what happened after the halving? How long did it take before we started to see a move out of this? So let's just go ahead and guesstimate. It took about 2 months after the halving. So that would be about June, July, right? We started to see an exponential rise to the upside going into this time cycle. So it took 267 days for us to go from, down here at about 9,200 up here to about 63,000, right? And so what is both the time and price, right? So we saw a 600% rise in Bitcoin, and it took about 268 days. So if we're looking at a move that's 200% from where we're roughly at right now, and let's say that it takes, let's see here, we got 60 days right here. So this would be at about the end of June, right? And let's say we do move up. And let's say we don't go up, 600%, right? We're talking about, maybe a move to 120, 140 if we get this exponential rise, and it would likely be into this time cycle right here, which would be April 2025. Something I've been talking about for a long, long time is we're looking for a bullish move going into 2025, right? So I'm looking at 2025 being the year when we have, just another craze and hysteria. You're going to have the people calling you saying, hey, you need to be buy crypto, buy this, buy that. And that, my friends, is when it's going to be time to get out. And time again, that has always been true. When the retail people come out of the woodwork, that's when it's time to get out. That's what was true if we go all the way back to, here in this time frame when we were up here creating this top. You had a lot of people that were talking about not just Bitcoin, but they were talking about Shiba Inu, they were talking about Doge, talking about all different kinds of altcoins, and this is in the retail space, right? But now that we've fallen from here, what is the chance that we're going to see this move, this A wave going all the way up here, to maybe 100,000? It's also possible. It is also possible. So with that, what I just want to advise is caution. We're going into a halving cycle again, and although historically that has been very bullish for Bitcoin, it is very wise for you to be careful when it comes to investing. But this would be the scenario that I would be looking for, watching to see how high this goes. It's absolutely possible that this does extend beyond the 1618, which is at about 76,000. Let me put 1 unit of measurement on this here for you guys. So looking at this, measuring from this top to this bottom, the 236 is at $97,950. Basically right there at $100,000. And the 382 is sitting at $121,000. So if we do extend up, right? And again, what this could be, not an ABC, but what this could be is a 1, 2, working on the 3, come back for a 4, then we go up for that quick 5. So that's very, very possible. So this ABC may not happen. So that 5 wave move to the upside, we're still looking at a wave A here. One way or another, no matter how you slice and dice it, we're either working on a 335 or a 535, right? So looking at the A, wave A here to terminate at some point. And at this point, it does look like whenever we do get to that point where wave A terminates, it's going to be probably above 50,000. So I'm just going to put that out there. There are, there's a decent amount of probability, because that's all trading is probability. There's no certainty in any kind of trading, that we're probably going to end above 50,000. And it's very possible that this 1, 2, 3, 6 here, 59,000, is possibly where this ends up going. That, again, we're looking for where this wave A is going to terminate. And what I would be focused on is less on where the price is going to stop. Don't focus on that. I would focus more on the time cycles, right? I've got the time cycles all labeled here with this, this dotted line, right? These time cycles are all strategically placed based off of cycles that I've identified in the past. And just to kind of put some context to the importance of cycles, somebody on the Discord server was just discussing this just yesterday, right? So they were talking about basically where we've got lows and highs, like basically major pivot points in the market. I want to outline those just really quickly here before I move on. So I'm going to take a look here, and I'm going to go into, where is my time cycles, my cyclic lines. All right, so what we've got is we've got a low right here, and let's just move this over here to the low right there. Okay, and let me just go ahead and change this to show you a little clearer what this is showing. Let me move up the, yes, here we go. Okay, so looking at this from this perspective, right? So we've got a major low right here. We've got, you know, a low right here. Let me move this in just a little bit. Right here to the actual low here we had on November 22nd, to this major low we had here on March 11th, and then we had a move up into this cycle top, and then we moved down, right? And then here at this cycle, major move up. Now we're at that area right now. What this reminds me of, and this is why, again, I'm being very cautious as to, you know, what kind of investment strategies you take. What this price action looks like going into this cycle looks very similar to, you know, the price action where we were moving down into this cycle, or we were moving down into this cycle, right? If we move up significantly into a cycle and then correct, typically what that means is we're probably going to move to the upside. So we moved up, we pulled back, and then we moved up, right? Where in this case we moved up and then we pulled back, right? We pull back and then we went up. We're pulling back and we're already starting to go up, so this does look a little bit different, but it still doesn't look bad, right? From a price action perspective, this doesn't look bad. Yes, I am kind of expecting that we're going to see a little bit of a pullback, right? This is a pullback that I had discussed just a couple days ago, but ultimately, I am kind of expecting there to be a move to the upside here in, you know, of course, the next couple months. I am expecting a move to the upside somewhere to finish this wave 5. So we've got the halving that's right here on April 23rd. I've got a cycle that's, you know, that's right here, which I think is probably going to end up being valid on May 19th. But the more important cycle is going to be out here. That's on September 25th. So whatever happens between now and then, nobody knows. We're just going to have to take the price action as it comes. But that is something that that we will want to pay very close attention to, are these cycles. Because I think, you know, let me rewind. Whenever I look at a chart, right, I talked about this last week, I believe. I look at geometry, and then I look at Fibonacci, and then I get into Elliott wave counts. Because Elliott wave counts are just a tool that's highly subjective, right? You know, just in the video today, I was like, well, if this happens, then this isn't an ABC. It ends up being a 1, 2, 3. It's highly subjective. So that will change on a dime's, you know, it'll change very, very quickly if something gets invalidated. Elliott wave should just be a tool to help you find maybe targets to close a trade or targets to get into a trade, right? But really what's more important is geometry. What's more important is Fibonacci, looking at your indicators, and then overlaying Elliott wave on top of that. That's why you see like a lot of trend lines and things on my chart, which I actually probably need to clean up a little bit because I've got some stuff on here that's, you know, kind of irrelevant. So just talking about all of that, you know, I think it's important to mention that that, you know, geometry and you know, channels, wedges, and things are really more important than an Elliott wave count. Elliott wave counts are great, but they can change very, very quickly just based off of one small piece of price action that invalidates whatever your thought process was at the time. That can be completely invalidated very, very quickly, and with that, you know, Elliott wave can sometimes just kind of go out the window, and you kind of have to go back to the drawing board. I've done that many times. Okay, now, altcoins. Let me go to total 3, which total 3 is going to be what our crypto cap is when we take out Bitcoin and Ethereum. What I want to point out here is we discussed on the Discord, and we have discussed on the Discord many times, these levels, which I actually haven't opened up this chart in weeks. I had, this alert up here when we got to about 520 billion. And what's happened since then? We did a retrace all the way back to about 440 billion. So we erased about $80 billion worth of market cap on all the altcoins, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? This is the total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. But we were talking about, when we do get a pullback, right, what do we want to see? Well, I want to see exactly what has happened so far here. We came all the way back down here to retest this area, which is created by this cluster over here and this high over here. We did a good pullback, and the way that it came back, it actually looks pretty healthy for a continued move to the upside, right? So you can count this as a ABC, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we've got a nice correction here. And now that we have done this, what I really want to see next, I want to see us break up and out of this trend. Sorry, not trend line. Well, yes, trend line, but I want to break out of this channel. If we can break out of this channel, I think it's a very high degree of probability that we're going to see a move up here to 630 billion, right? So very, very likely that we're going to see a move up to that 630 billion, which of course is created, simple enough, it's created off of this price action. We found lots of support here back in early 2022, and then naturally, where we're going to end up seeing some resistance is probably going to be right up here. If we break out of 630, we're going to go to 811. It's almost guaranteed that that's what's going to happen. I talk about levels all the time. I trade options based off of levels, and once you break out of a specific level, chances are, probability is, you are going to go to the next level, right? So are we going to get back to $1 trillion market cap on the altcoins? This happened in November of 2021. It is not out of the realm of possibility that something like this can happen. We need to start breaking out of this and start breaking through some of these barriers. But the yellow trend lines that I have on here, these are the trend lines, or really the horizontals that are kind of less important. Once we get to some of these green horizontal lines, and I guess there's also a level right here that I should probably put in there at about 707, and that's that's created by these bottoms here, and you can kind of see where that comes from. But if we start breaking through these, that's more significant. That is way more significant, and this would be once we start getting into this range, I would start getting even more bullish than I am today, even more bullish than I've been all of last year, right? So I've been very bullish on alts through, the beginning of 2023, and certainly after, after the FTX stuff, that's when I started getting really bullish on crypto. But yeah, starting in like October of this year, I guess I shouldn't say this year, it's 2024 now, but October of last year, I started getting very bullish on alts, and that worked out to our advantage in really significant ways. So if we can get back up above some of these green trend lines, these green horizontals, that really opens the door to massive, massive moves in crypto, right? What you need to look for also is not just the USD pairs. Everybody looks at the USD pairs, but really what matters the most is the Bitcoin pairings of these alts. So let me just go to Cardano versus Bitcoin. And, a lot of people don't pay attention to this, right? We've been in, basically in this trade all the way back here. I was talking about this in, October of 2023, right? So again, this is when I was talking about getting really bullish into alts. So looking at this, the upside potential is huge. And if I zoom out on this, right, yes, we're going to see significant resistance, as I've already noted here, at about 1887, we'll call it 2,000 sats. And once we get up here to about 2,000 sats, that's going to be about 115% gain just in Bitcoin value. If Bitcoin appreciates in value, while the Cardano versus Bitcoin pairing is also increasing, Cardano will have increased more than 115%. If Bitcoin is higher, when this hits 2,000, if Bitcoin is higher than it was in October of 2023, then that's just adding to the fuel to what we are seeing in Cardano, if and when it gets there. Ultimately, I'm looking for a move all the way up here to about 4,000, right? And again, I'm just trading this based off of the wedge that we see, and this is going into 2025, and then more than likely what's going to end up happening is the same thing that happened to Lumens back in, I think it was 2019 or 2018. I'll go and take a look at that as well here in just a moment. But looking at this, everybody's going to say this is a huge, huge bull flag. This is going to just continue to move up. I'm going to be happy to get out of all of my Cardano when we get up here to this area. Now, why? Why would I do that? Because this looks super bullish. Well, XLM BTC. Let's take a look at Lumens versus Bitcoin. And I'm going to go all the way back here. Okay, let's see here. This was 2018 right here. Okay, so maybe this isn't as good of an example as I was thinking. Yeah, you know what? This isn't a good example. For some reason, I might be thinking of a different asset. I may have been thinking of something different, but ultimately we were looking at what looked like a bull flag, and of course everything ended up breaking down back then. But everybody was looking at the consolidation. Maybe this is what I'm thinking, but it doesn't have the same wedge vibe that Cardano has. But the consolidation, expecting this to continue to move up, and that's not what happened. It ended up breaking down. So it is what it is, and we've moved on from there. So I apologize. This is just a really bad example. I'll have to go and see if I can find something, and if I do, I'll throw it up on my Twitter or in the Discord as well. All right, well, let's see here. Total 3, looking at this, one more time here. If we can break out of that 520, we're going to see another scenario where we are looking for happiness and then ultimately looking for the next area of caution, which is, likely going to be here. And, as we continue to break through these, we will have, more celebrations and, all in all, still bullish on the market. I really can't see any reason to be extremely bearish right now, and so we're just going to continue to trade the market as it comes. And if things do look like they're going to be shaky, then then we'll take a look at closing some positions. But really, just about everything that we have is in profit, with the exception of just a couple things that are some long-term holds that we're waiting for. All right. Well, that's what I've got for you right now. Hopefully this helped. If it did, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share. If you need access to our Discord, if you need access to education, trading ideas, some of our advanced strategies with day trading options, things like that, you can find all that information on BitDoctor.org. And last but not least, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, and a great evening. Take care, everyone.